guys are appreciating how much work we put. I'm here, and my buddy Larry Lanham, who was kind enough to send in the application to speak to you all, is virtually here. So think of Larry and I. Larry is about 9 feet taller than me, for those of you who know him. So think of Larry as here as well. We thought we would talk about today is a little bit about the Research Data Alliance, which is an organization that's barely 2 years old, but has really grown precipitously. And to share with you, just some of the basics about it. The library community, the information science community, the archival community, the museum community are really important parts of the Research Data Alliance. So I want to talk about it a little bit with an open invitation that we would really love to see any of you use the organization for whatever is useful for you. So what is the Research Data Alliance? And this is an organization that was created a couple of years ago to accelerate the development of research data sharing worldwide. So for all of us in the research community, we're finding that sharing data really accelerates virtually everything. Whether you look in social science or chemistry or high energy physics or art or any area that you choose, you find that researchers are sharing data. So for example, if you want to look at the ethnography of how you get asthma, are you more at risk to get asthma in Mexico City than Los Angeles, which some of our researchers are looking at? You might want to combine data from patient records, from air quality studies, from where the infrastructure is built, etc. Creating the kind of infrastructure needed to be able to share those data collections and ask those questions is really important. Creating that infrastructure is part of what we do in Research Data Alliance. Now, when we think about creating infrastructure, you have to think broadly about what infrastructure is. So it's not just the technical infrastructure, pieces of code or approaches to systems for data centers, etc. It's the social and organizational infrastructure as well, and you can think of that as community standards, as policy that's adopted, as practice that we all use, etc. I was talking to Steve Morales from DPN today and about how libraries are coming together and sort of sharing their technologies, but also their practice and their policy as well. So the idea is to bring together people who are worried about reducing barriers to data sharing and exchange, and to develop, to accelerate the idea of coordinated global data infrastructure. Now, RDA doesn't tell you what infrastructure you ought to be building. There's no, the organization is not around. There's an Esperanto infrastructure. We all have to adopt it in order for it to work. The idea is that all communities are sort of working to develop the infrastructure that seems most appropriate to them. If we can share that infrastructure, great. If we can use that infrastructure, even better. But not everyone has to use everything. Communities, in the real world, are just doing what they can to develop their infrastructure. So the working groups in the RDA are working on focused pieces of infrastructure that's adopted and used by someone. You build a piece of infrastructure that's a technical piece of infrastructure, social or organizational. It's adopted and used by someone. These are efforts for which people are spending, with volunteer effort, about a year and a half. And the idea is to eliminate a roadblock for data sharing. These efforts should have applicability to some group. Doesn't have to be absolutely everyone, but if there are more people for which that infrastructure is applicable for, that's really important. And the kinds of things we could start today. Because if I want to worry about asthma, I don't want to wait for some number of years for the infrastructure to be in place. I want to answer that question and move on to the next question that's important to me. So this is kind of basically what the organization is trying to do. It's trying to create stuff, adopt stuff, use stuff. It's kind of the just do it of the data infrastructure world. So let me answer the question next is, who is the RDA? And in less than 2 years, this has been sort of precipitous growth. Every time I show this slide, it's a little out of date. So these days we have over 1,900 members from 80 countries. This gives you a sense about around the world. This is not just our problem in the US. Everybody is trying to share data. If you look at Europe and the whole digital rights and the kinds of things they're doing there around the digital agenda, Australia, Africa, India, Asia, etc. There's a number of people all over the world who are looking at this. So those people have found the RDA to be a useful vehicle for them and are attracted to the organization to build infrastructure. In the US, we have about 41 states that are represented by our members. If you're from the Dakotas, we would love to include you. So, it's really been spread wide. And so that was a little bit about who, and actually, let me just say that, who are these people? And it turns out that RDA is very broad in scope. We have folks from the library community, folks from the information science community, we have archivists, we have data center people, we have people from the domain sciences, we have people who are looking at agriculture and chemistry and toxicogenomics and material science, we have computer scientists, we have technologists. So it's really, we have policymakers, data policymakers, so it's a very broad community. So my last slide is I just thought I would show you what are they working on. And all of this is community driven. No one tells people what RDA should be a vehicle for, but here are the groups that have found RDA useful. My apologies for the smallness of font, but they kind of cluster in certain kinds of themes. So in domain science, we have folks looking at weed interoperability. We have the photon and neutron science community who just joined RDA and are trying to develop infrastructure that's useful for them. Marine data, as I talked about, digital ethnography, biodiversity, structural biology. So we have a number of different areas. If there are domain researchers who need infrastructure to facilitate data sharing, and they think that RDA might be a useful organization, we welcome them. It's free to join. You go to the web and just check the box that say you believe in openness and good things in life, and you're part of the RDA. And it should be something that enhances the work that we do. So the idea is don't just join to join because you think it would be a good vehicle for you. For community needs, the data we are in, all of us are in arguably the most exciting area around these days. Data is a first-class priority all over the world. And to really come together and as a community, this is a wonderful thing. I think I'm less than 10 minutes. I think I'm like 30 seconds. A number of different things. What you'll find is nuts and bolts people. Our very first working groups delivering infrastructure are going to worry about things like persistent identifiers, data type registries, data citation, metadata, etc., as well as things focused on stewardship. Very important. If you're going to share data, the data has to live somewhere. Somebody's got to be its steward. Somebody's got to worry about preservation. So all of these things are really important, and we look forward to working with all of you and working with all of you as appropriate.